Today, we're diving into one of the most important journeys in all of human history, the out of Africa migration. But we're going to look at it in a totally new light, one that reframes this entire story from one of defeat into an incredible epic of strength.
I mean, think about it for a second. When you hear about a group of people leaving their home, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For a lot of us, it's a story of failure, right? That they were pushed out, that they couldn't compete.
So, what happens if we've been applying that same flawed idea to the greatest journey our species has ever taken? Let's dig into how that one little assumption might have shaped the entire story we tell about ourselves. Okay, so that brings us to our first part, the common misconception. This is the story you've probably heard a dozen times about our earliest ancestors. The old idea goes something like this. Early human groups were all competing with each other in Africa, and the losers, the ones who couldn't hack it, were basically forced to leave. It frames the whole migration as this desperate retreat. And to put this into perspective, we're talking about something that started around 70,000 years ago. A small group of Homo sapiens began a journey that, over thousands of years, led to people inhabiting literally every corner of the globe. So, the stakes for getting this story right are pretty huge. Which brings us to the heart of this explainer, a powerful new perspective that totally reframes this journey as an act of incredible strength, not failure. This really flips the old story on its head. The myth says the weaker groups were forced to flee, but the reality? It looks like the most adaptable groups, the most resilient ones, made a choice to explore. That's not a sign of failure, that's a sign of absolute strength. And this quote just nails it. This wasn't a retreat. It was a pioneering expedition. It was a strategic move made by people who had exactly what it took to head out into the great unknown and actually succeed.
So what did these pioneers really look like? I mean, who were these explorers? And what was actually driving them to leave?
It's a fair question, right? If they weren't losing a big fight with some other group, then why leave? What was the actual push? Well, the answer might not be about rival humans at all, but about the world around them. You have to picture what was going on in Africa at the time. Populations were growing, which naturally means more competition for food and water. The climate was shifting, causing food to become scarce in some areas. So in that context, leaving isn't running away. It's an incredibly smart, proactive strategy to go find new places with untapped resources. Okay, so facing that situation, who do you think is actually going to be the one to pack up and take on that kind of dangerous, perilous journey? The weakest members of the group? Or the most capable? Exactly. The people best equipped for this adventure would have been the A-team. We're talking physically strong, healthy people. They were highly skilled hunters with advanced tool-making abilities, and maybe most important of all, they had strong social bonds that allowed them to cooperate. These are the traits of pioneers, not a defeated rabble. And that brings us to our final section, looking at migration itself as a winning strategy, and what that does to our whole idea of success and failure in human history. See, this was never a simple case of winners stay, losers leave. The groups that stayed in Africa weren't automatically winners. They had their own massive challenges, their own environmental pressures, and plenty of them went extinct too. Leaving wasn't losing, it was just a different, opportunistic strategy for survival. There's actually a term for this in biology. It's called an opportunistic strategy. We see it in nature all the time. When the environment changes, animals don't migrate because they got beat. They move proactively, looking for new food, new territory, new opportunities. Our ancestors were doing the exact same thing. So here's the bottom line. We have to get rid of this idea that evolution is some simple contest where the loser gets kicked out. It's so much more complex. This wasn't about being pushed out. It was about spreading out. It's about adapting, strategizing, and finding new ways to thrive in a changing world. So in the end, the story of leaving Africa is actually one of humanity's greatest triumphs. It's a testament to the raw courage, the incredible skill, and the amazing adaptability of our ancestors. It is, fundamentally, a story about strength. And that leaves us with one last thought to chew on. If we've been telling this foundational story wrong for so long, what other historical failures might actually be tales of profound resilience and incredible strategic strength? Definitely something to think about.